What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? It's Daniel, and welcome back to our video. Today, I'll be talking about Kyle Busch, whether he will return to Richard Childress Racing in 2026 or explore free agency and join another team in 2026. So anyways, let's go ahead and just jump straight into it. Kyle Busch is one of the big names currently on the free agent docket for 2026. In fact, he is going into this silly season right now as a number one driver not signed at this moment for the 2026 season. Because currently at the moment right now, Kyle Busch is in a contract year with Richard Childress Racing. His contract only originally went through 2024, but they extended for one more season for 2025. Remember, we go back to last year, there was a lot of talk and conversations that Kyle Busch could leave RCR at the end of last year and join and go back to a team like Hendrick or go back to a team like Gibbs Racing. Inevitably, Kyle Busch returned to the team in 2025, that being Richard Childress Racing. One of the reasons there was a lot of talk about it is because of the frustration in 2024. That was the first season where Kyle Busch failed to pick up a win in the NASCAR Cup Series. He did pick up a couple wins in the Craftsman Truck Series, 2 or 3 wins last year, but he didn't pick up a win in the Cup Series for the first time in a full season since he was a rookie, and even then he won a couple races as a rookie. This is the first full season he had not scored a victory. So there were a lot of questions surrounding what was going to happen, and the big question coming into this year was how was RCR going to perform, and was this team going to show some big improvement this year? So Kyle Busch could stick around with RCR at the conclusion of the 2025 season. That is a big question right now. Now, today, we're going to talk about all the opportunities and possibilities and options that we could see for Kyle Busch for 2026, and then I'll make a decision on what I think will happen for 2026. So anyways, let's go ahead and jump into it. The first team we're talking about is obviously Richard Childress Racing. Now, Richard Childress Racing is a team that Kyle Busch is currently driving for in the NASCAR Cup Series right now. Like I said, going into this year, there were a lot of questions around the team. They made some hirings in the offseason. They brought Richard Boswell in from Stewart-Haas Racing, and they brought Johnny Klossmeyer on. We were really not sure if they were going to basically make a major impact on the team. And while so far early in the season, they haven't made a massive improvement to have the same performance that Kyle Busch had in early 2023, I will say we have seen some improved performances from both Kyle Busch and Austin Dillon early in the season. Kyle Busch has only scored 1 top 5 early in the year, but he's already scored 4 top 10 finishes in the first 8 races of the year, and his average finish is actually a little bit better right now than it was at the end of last year. He has a 16.9 average finish. While it's not as good as it was in 2023, his performance has definitely been a lot better early in the year and has already led 58 laps, and he's been in much better position to win races early in the season than he was last year. You go back to Coda, he dominated the race, led about half the event, and probably should have won that race had it not been for an offset of tires. He might have been going to victory lane at Circuit of the Americas. He was really fast in the Daytona 500, got caught up in a crash, had a really strong car at Atlanta, had a good car at Vegas for having the tire issues, and really so far he's only had 1 or maybe 2 races this year where I actually think he's been not fantastic, but so far I think RCR has shown a little bit more speed, and Kyle Busch said he has gotten a lot more involved. And because of Kyle Busch's improved performance, he's actually in the playoffs currently at the moment, albeit by only about 6 or 7 points, but he's been doing a lot better. We saw some improved performance at the end of the season last year for Kyle Busch, so I think that there is a good possibility that this could convince him to stick around because we've seen the team do a lot better. And I think that Kyle Busch has been having a much better season so far in 2025. So now, let's talk about the possibilities, and let's say if Kyle Busch doesn't return to Richard Childress Racing. What opportunities are out there for Kyle Busch? The first team I want to talk about is Spire Motorsports. This is a team that a lot of people link Kyle Busch potentially going to for the 2026 season for multiple different reasons. Number 1, Kyle Busch is a consultant for the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series program. And number 2, the Kyle Busch Motorsports shop, which of course Kyle Busch ran for many years, is the same shop that Spire Motorsports is housed in for the NASCAR Cup and Craftsman Truck Series programs and their ARCA programs as well. So many people link Kyle Busch over to Spire Motorsports for next year. The big thing that could hurt the possibility of this happening, though, is the fact that I do believe all 3 drivers at Spire are currently under multi-year contracts. I do believe that Justin Haley is under a multi-year deal. Carson Ospar with his connection with Hendrick, same with Justin Haley. They're both under contract for quite some time. And Michael McDowell does have a contract through 2026. The only major possibility I see with Spire Motorsports right now is the number 7, and that revolves around Rodney Childers. Apparently, RCR tried to convince Rodney Childers last year to come over from SHR over to Rich Chols Racing, take more of a hands-on approach, and be more behind-the-scenes kind of guy, really helping him take that next step. He then took the other approach, that being Ronnie Chols, and went over to work with Spire to be a crew chief, which I think was a massive get for the team. And we haven't seen much from Justin Haley early in the season, so that's the only car that I think would be a legit possibility for Kyle Busch next year. It make a lot of sense. We've seen him drive the 7 truck and be able to win some races. So I think that the Spire team is certainly an option, and it is certainly a possibility for next year. But I think this is the most likely option if Kyle Busch is not to return to Richard Chols Racing for the 2026 season. Spire's still on the up and up. I think this team has shown some promise. McDowell's in contention to make the playoffs this year. And I think they've had some decent speed early in the season, but I think this is one to definitely watch out for. The next team we're talking about is 2311 Racing. Now, a lot of people bring up 2311 Racing because of his brother Kurt Busch still working at the team as a consultant currently at the moment. However, I'm going to say this right now. I don't fully expect Kyle Busch to ever go to 2311 Racing. I know this is one of the teams that was looking at Kyle Busch for the 2023 season when Kyle Busch was in the free agency talks after it was announced he wasn't returning to Joe Gibbs Racing. This is a team that he was looking at. Now, a couple years ago, I would have probably said that this would have been a great possibility. However, all 3 drivers, I believe, at 2311 Racing, including even their development driver, Corey Heim, are under multi-year contracts. You think about Riley Herbst. That 3rd charter from 2311 Racing is coming from the Stewart Haas Racing sale, and I believe the Herbst family owns that charter, so they get to make a decision on that charter. Bubba Wallace, he has a contract through 2026, and Bubba Wallace has been doing a really, really good job early in the season and is still sitting around the top 10 in the points, 8 races in the year. And you think about Tyler Reddick. He's a guy that's got a good chance to win the championship this year. He hasn't won a race yet, but he's been pretty competitive. And then you think about Corey Heim once again. I just don't see 2311 being an option. Now, maybe part-time, that could certainly be a possibility, but I don't think Kyle Busch likely goes to our next team for 2026. Next team we're going to talk about is Trackhouse Racing. Now, Trackhouse Racing, I've seen some people, including some YouTubers like The Iceberg, bring this up as a possibility. Now, one number could be available for Kyle Busch. Well, everyone looks at the number 99. Daniel Suarez is in a contract year with Trackhouse Racing, and many people are expecting in the industry that he will likely not return to Trackhouse Racing in 2026. Many people think there's an opportunity there open for that number 99. However, the big thing that could hurt this possibly for Kyle Busch is Connor Zilisch. And right now, Connor Zilisch is the favorite to drive the number 99 machine for 2026. You also consider the fact that Connor Zilisch is going to be making his first Oval Cup Series start in about a month or so from now in the Coca-Cola 600 with Red Bull Connection. So everyone thinks Zilisch is very likely going there, and I do expect him to go. The only way I see Kyle Busch going to Trackhouse Racing in 2026 is if the development does not go very well for Connor Zilisch. If Connor Zilisch doesn't show that massive improvement that we're really looking for, which I think so far he's been doing a really, really solid job this year, then maybe Kyle Busch goes here. But at this particular moment in point right now, I don't think you are going to see Kyle Busch end up over at Trackhouse Racing unless Connor Zilisch sticks around with Junior Motorsports. Plus, I think there's a chance that Junior Motorsports is going to get involved with this charter for the 2026 season. So we'll see what happens there with the number 99. I think this one's a possibility, but only if Connor Zilisch struggles. The next team we'll talk about is Hendrick Motorsports. Everyone talks about Hendrick as a possibility for Kyle Busch, and everyone looks at that number 48 machine that Alex Bowman is currently driving at the moment. Here's the thing, though. Alex Bowman has been doing a really good job this year. He's been competitive all season long. He's already almost led more laps this year than he led in all of 2024, and I think he's been doing an exceptional job in that number 48 machine. And I know Bowman's contract does go through 2026. You're not going to get rid of Kyle Larson, who's got a contract through 2026. You're not going to get rid of William Byron, and you're not going to get rid of Chase Elliott. So the only way I see this happening is if Bowman loses his seat. But Alex Bowman's been way too good, so I don't see Kyle Busch going over to Hendrick Motorsports. I think this is off the table currently at the moment right now, and I think unless we see some crazy stuff happen, I don't think Kyle Busch goes to Hendrick Motorsports in the near future. Maybe as like a part-time guy in their Xfinity program down the road, but right now I don't see him going to Hendrick. The next team we'll talk about is Joe Gibbs Racing. Now, Joe Gibbs Racing, I actually think there's a very decent possibility of this being a potential seat for Kyle Busch for 2026. And I'm talking about the number 11 machine that could change over to the number 18 machine for the 2026 season. Now, why do I talk about this? Well, Denny Hamlin, to my understanding, he technically does have a contract through 2026, but I have made a prediction early in this year that he was going to retire at the end of 2025. Before we all knew that Denny Hamlin was going to be on a really strong start to the year and has already gone and gotten 2 victories early in the year and has got 2 wins this season. Plus, Denny Hamlin did pick up big sponsorship from Progressive. I thought maybe with FedEx and maybe Tire leaving and not coming back, I wasn't sure what the sponsorship stuff was going to have for Denny Hamlin. Turns out Denny Hamlin is really good in the sponsorship front. Now, if Denny Hamlin does retire at the end of this year, I think that's the only possibility because I don't think there's any driver in Toyota's young camp that's ready to go. You're not going to have Corey Heim go to Joe Gibbs Racing. So then you look at William Sauvage. Nope, William Sauvage 22nd in the points, been struggling early in the year. Taylor Gray's good, but Taylor Gray's not ready. You've got Gio Ruggiero, who I think's shown some flashes. And you've got Brent Cruz, who I think's shown some flashes. But the problem is for Brent, he's not even 18 years old currently at the moment, and Gio's racing full-time in trucks. So I would love to see M&M's come back and be part of it. Kyle Busch is ever to go back to that team. But as of right now, I think this is only if Hamlin retires at the moment. But I think there's a chance Hamlin could retire at the end of the year, depending on how things go. The next team we're going to talk about is Legacy Motor Club. Now, I've seen some people talk about Legacy Motor Club being a potential possibility for Kyle Busch, and this could go to their 3rd car. We do know that Legacy Motor Club is looking to get a 3rd car. They're currently in a lawsuit with Rick Ware Racing at the moment right now in regards to the charter, which does actually involve the RFK Racing number 60 charter that Ryan Preece is currently driving at this time. They sold the charter apparently for $45 million, got it for Rick Ware, and they're trying to get that 3rd charter. Some have brought up the possibility, especially rumors of Legacy maybe switching manufacturers down the road, maybe the Dodge perhaps, maybe finding a way to get Kyle Busch over there. My theory is right now, though, I don't know if Legacy is going to fully be an option. I do think that if somehow they don't get Corey Heim in the seat for a year, or you don't get Kaz Grall, who's a reserve driver for the team, in that car, then I think that this is an option. But however, I just don't think this is fully likely at the moment right now. I think that we've seen crazier stuff and things can happen, but I've seen people bring up Legacy Motor Club, and right now I just don't think the 84 car that we've seen Jimmy Johnson driving, Corey Heim driving in the past, I don't see this being a full-scale option for 2026. Next, let's talk about full-time being in the Craftsman Truck Series. Many people are going to talk about this because obviously Kyle Busch is looking to become the first driver to win championships in all 3 series. He's won a championship in the Cup Series, actually 2 as a matter of fact, 2015 and 2019. And then, of course, he won the Xfinity Series championship nearly 20 years ago back in 2009 with Joe Gibbs Racing. Some people think that there is a chance down the road that Kyle Busch is going to go for a full-time championship in the Truck Series. And while I do think that is possible, I don't know if he wants to lead the Cup Series at this time. Now, I do think that if there's in some way, shape, or form, he can't stay with RCR, can't find a good ride for the year, I think he goes to Spire Motorsports in the Craftsman Truck Series. I think he finds a way over there at Spire Motorsports no matter what, especially with winning a lot of races with their Truck Series program. I think that this could be a potential option. So I think that this is one we're going to have to watch for sure, but as of right now, I think it's not fully on the table at the moment, and I'm going to say iffy on if he does go to Spire Motorsports for a Truck Series championship. I'm not sure, though. Next, let's talk about RFK Racing. This one, I've seen some crazy rumors brought up on Reddit where people think that he'd go to RFK Racing, where he started his career when, of course, his brother Kurt Busch drove for the team. I'm just going to straight up say I don't think there's any options here. With the lawsuit going on with Rick Ware and Legacy and RFK being involved in some way, shape, or form, I just don't see this fully being a possibility. Ryan Preece under multi-year contract with RFK. Brad Keselowski, unless he somehow retires at the end of the year, then maybe. But I don't see Kyle Busch going over to RFK and going over to Ford. And Chris Buescher's got pretty much a lifelong contract with the team. So right now I'm seeing it's very unlikely at this time that he goes to RFK Racing. Some people want to bring up the rumors of the 60, but I just don't see it happening at the moment where he goes to RFK Racing at this time. Next, let's talk about Junior Motorsports. Junior Motorsports is the last team we're going to talk about because there's been a lot of rumors and speculation about Junior Motorsports maybe going NASCAR Cup Series racing, and it seems like for the first time they're actually very interested, but with the increase of the charter prices and the unknown of what the charters are going to be looking like after this year, with the lawsuit going on right now, there are still some unknowns on that front. Now, I think if they were to come Cup racing, Kyle Busch would actually be the perfect candidate to go with. He'd be someone that really could build up your program. He'd be able to really help your program get up to speed, and I think having that Hendrick connection especially could really take Junior Motorsports to that next level. So I think that there is a possibility for this. Right now, I'm leaning toward not likely unless Junior Motorsports, again, does find a way to make their way up to the NASCAR Cup Series, but I think there definitely is a chance of something like this happening for sure. If Junior Motorsports goes up with the number 40, or if they do find a way to purchase up with Trackhouse, but the thing is, I think they're going to get involved with Trackhouse some way, shape, or form, considering they've got Ross Chastain and SVG driving in the Xfinity car, and Connor Zilch being very closely aligned with them. I think that this will be unlikely at the time, but I think Junior Motorsports is a possibility. And finally, let's talk about retirement. People keep bringing up the possible rumor that Kyle Busch could retire at the end of this year. I know Fox talked about it recently. I do think retirement is a very seldom option. But I will say this, I don't think Kyle Busch is going to retire at the end of this year. Kyle Busch has been way too good, and he's still performing at a solid level. Yes, Kyle Busch is not the same driver that he was a few years ago, but he is still a very, very solid driver and can still do very good and get it down. He's a very, very talented race car driver and is still someone that I think has a chance to win races in 2025. So I don't see Kyle Busch retiring at the end of this year. I think he wants to stick around, plus he's got a pathway for Brexton going down the road. So right now, I don't think he is going to do that at this time where he's going to retire at the end of the year. So now, let's go to what I think is actually going to happen. So, if he does leave RCR at the end of the year, I think the only options are Spire and Joe Gibbs Racing. Spire with the connection, working very closely with the team, and then Joe Gibbs Racing if Denny Hamlin retires. I think all the other options are not fully likely. But I actually think, despite what I said at the beginning of the year where I predicted that Kyle Busch was going to go back to Joe Gibbs Racing, I actually think Kyle Busch is going to sign a one-year extension with Richard Racing for the 2026 season. Here's a few reasons why. Number one, I think that Kyle Busch wants to get RCR back in shape. The team, like I said, is performing a little bit better right now, and they're showing a little bit more pace and a little bit more speed. And as much as I think Jesse Love, I think he's really good. He's making his Cup debut this weekend. I think he's very talented and has a lot of potential to win. I just don't see Jesse Love going Cup racing full-time in 2026. You also got to remember he's only 21 or 22, so he still's got time. I think if Love goes Cup, it honestly could be if Austin Dillon retires. But right now, I think Kyle Busch signs a one-year extension and will stick around in the RCR program just for 2026. It could change as time goes on, but right now, I think he sticks around with RCR for the 2026 season. So, that is going to be today's video on Kyle Busch, whether he's going to return to RCR or not. I want to thank you guys for watching. Please subscribe to the channel, notifications on, so if I win a video, it does go live on my channel. Follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and support me on Patreon as well. Let's go more of that and comment your thoughts below on today's episode. You think Kyle Busch is going to return to RCR in 2026, or do you think he's going to leave RCR at the end of this year? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Till later tonight on the channel, depending on the weather, we will likely have a Truck Series race review. If not, you probably will see the review later in the week with the weather being a potential factor for tonight. Then tomorrow, you're going to see the Xfinity Series reactions to the race and Cup qualifying reactions. And then on Sunday, you're going to see the Cup race review more than likely. You'll see the starting line for the Food City 500 and an SVG video most likely. And then, of course, on Monday, we should have multiple NASCAR news videos dropping. We got content coming out of Haley Deegan, Shane Van Gisbergen, and Carl Kurt Busch, Kyle Busch, 2311 front row, lawsuit updates, Sammy Smith, Catherine Lake, Brock Feeney, you name it, Will Brown, people like that. We'll talk about all this stuff on the channel. Chase Elliott, Bubba Wallace, you name it. Connor Zilch, Clay's Farm, Matt Tibbin-Adele. We'll talk about all that on the channel really, really soon. So anyways, like I said, I want to thank you guys for watching today's episode, and I'll see you guys next time for more great, awesome NASCAR content, other motorsports content on the channel like this. Take care, everybody.